Hello, my rad pre-calculus class. Today we are going to apply the product to sum formulas in another online adventure. Let's review for just a little bit. You have A minus B equals A plus the opposite of B. What has happened, I've changed a difference to a sum. And you see today we're talking about product to sum formulas. If you were to look on page 598 in our book, here we have the product to sum formulas. So we've got, let's say we do this one, sine of alpha times sine of beta. See, that's the product to sum, equals 1/2 times the quantity, the cosine of alpha minus beta, minus the cosine of alpha plus beta. Now remember that we can change this difference to what? A sum. So what we're really going to be doing, you have to match up one of these product to sum formulas, and then just simply do the arithmetic. So let's look at one together. We're going to look at this. It says express each product as a sum or difference. And we have here sine of 8x times sine of 3x. So we come over here to our product to sum formula. You see, a sine times a sine. And this is our formula. So what I did, I wrote the formula out. The sine of alpha times the sine of beta is equal to 1/2 times the quantity cosine of alpha minus beta minus cosine of alpha plus beta. Now, notice that the alpha is the 8x and the beta is the 3x. So all I do is go over and substitute my formula. So for alpha, I put 8x. For beta, I put 3x. This is the difference, so we get 5x. Substitute again for the alpha, 8x, and the beta, 3x. And when we add, we get 11x. So our final answer for sine of 8x times sine of 3x will be equal to 1/2 times the quantity, 5x, minus the cosine of 11x. And that's all we have to do. Just match up that formula and then do the substitution for your alpha and your beta. Let's look at another example. This says 2 times the cosine of 7x divided by 2 times the cosine of 3x divided by 2. So this is a product. But we don't have a 2 here. So what we're going to do, we're going to, first of all, if we eliminate the 2, you've got a product of cosine times cosine. So you go over here to your formulas for product to sum formula. So here's a cosine times a cosine. So this becomes 1/2 times the quantity cosine of alpha minus beta plus the cosine of alpha plus beta. So make sure you pay attention to the signs between these, whether it's plus or what minus. So I come over here and I write this out. You see, that's the same thing I just said. Cosine of alpha times cosine of beta is equal to 1/2 times the quantity cosine of alpha minus beta plus cosine of alpha plus beta. Well, this is 2 times this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply 2 on each side here to make it have a 2 there. So it's 2 times this product and 2 times this sum. And I bring down the 2 times the cosine times cosine of alpha times cosine of beta. And then 2 times 1/2, or half of 2 is 1. So I'm just left with the cosine of alpha minus beta plus the cosine of alpha plus beta. Now here the alpha is 7x over 2. The beta is 3x over 2. So here I substitute for the alpha and the beta. Here I'm going to subtract, get 4x over 2, which reduces to 2x. Here I'm going to add the alpha plus the beta, get 10x over 2, which reduces to 5x. So my final answer is cosine of 2x plus cosine of 5x. And that is what the 2 times the cosine of 7x divided by 2 times the cosine of 3x divided by 2 equals. So again, just find the formula, the product to sum formula that matches up, and replace the alpha and the beta in the formula. Let's look at another example. Here we have 10 times the cosine of 5x times the sine of 10x. It's a cosine times a sine. So we go back to our formulas, and we've got, let's see, it's a cosine times a sine. So we want to find a cosine times a sine. Here it is right here. You see cosine times a sine. which is going to be equal to 1/2 times the quantity, sine of alpha plus beta minus sine of alpha minus beta. So I come over here and I write down the product to sum formula. But this is a 10, so I multiply each side by 10. Will be 10 times the cosine of alpha sine beta. But 10 times a half of 10 is 5. So it's 5 times this quantity now. But we have that the alpha is 5x and the beta is 10x. So over here where I see alpha, I put 5x. Where I see beta, I put the 10x. And this would be the alpha minus what? The 10x. So 5x plus 10x gives us 15x. 5x minus 10x gives us a negative 5x. Now we have to remember our even odd functions, and remember that sine is an odd function. So when we make this angle positive, it becomes the opposite, you see. So it's going to be the minus a negative sine of a positive 5x, which makes us what? Positive. So our final answer here will be 5 times the quantity sine of 15x plus sine of 5x. So again, we had to use our what? Even odd properties there. Let's look at another example. It says here, find the exact value using a sum or difference of two functions. Well, this is the problem right here. It's the sine of 195 degrees times the cosine of 15 degrees. So I go over here to my product of sum formulas, and it's going to be what? A sine times the cosine. So I'll find a sine. Here it is, a sine times a cosine. You see a sine times a cosine is equal to 1/2 times the quantity sine of alpha plus beta plus the sine of alpha minus beta. So come over here. See how I wrote the formula down? Sine of alpha times cosine of beta. So the alpha is 195 degrees. The beta is 15 degrees. And notice we're finding the exact value. No fractions. The fractions reduce to lowest terms and no decimals. So I come over here and replace with alpha. Replace what? 195 degrees for beta. I put the 15 degrees. The same thing here. Well, 195 degrees plus 15 degrees is 210 degrees. And then I want to find the sine of 210 degrees. Go to your unit circle. 210 degrees. You see the sine is what? The y coordinate. So the sine of 210 degrees is what? A negative 1/2. So I replace the sine of 210 degrees with a negative 1/2. Then I want to find the sine of 180 degrees. So look on our unit circle. Here's 180 degrees, and the sine is the y coordinate, and the y coordinate here is 0. So the sine of 180 degrees is 0. And then a negative 1/2 plus 0 is a negative 1/2. A negative 1/2 times 1/2 is a negative 1/4. So the sine of 195 degrees times the cosine of 15 degrees is equal to a negative, let me move this up so you can see it, will be equal to what? A negative 1/4. And again, in this particular chapter section, you match up the formula with what is given, and then you just do what? The substitution. And also always remember, as you're viewing this video, you need to stop, rewind, review. Stop, rewind, review. I love going out to